YouTube, Awesome Rider here. Welcome to my review for BoonBoomger episode 40. So this will be a pretty short review because this was honestly a pretty run-of-the-mill filler episode for the most part. It wasn't necessarily terrible, but it was one of my lesser favorites solely because I'm just not a fan of the Joe character. In fact, going into this, I watched the preview and I was thinking in the back of my head secretly maybe this episode will turn me around on it because it looked to be a Joe-focused episode. And last year I had a similar problem with the, was it Kagura? Was Kagura's name is Kagura Kagami? The Black Ranger from King Odra. I wasn't a fan of his for most of the series, but then there was an episode like around the last arc that really turned me around and kind of got me to understand his character better. And there were still aspects of his performance that would annoy me, but he actually became more of a favorite of mine. It kind of just like unlocked the key of me understanding that character. And because Joe's been one of like the only characters that I don't like in this show, I was like, maybe this will be the episode. And it really wasn't, because the flashback just amounted to a very generic Toku lesson. I mean, yeah, this is a nice lesson for kids to learn. It's basically like the greatest teacher failure is. Like, don't be afraid to make mistakes, learn from your mistakes, stuff like that. But it wasn't what I was expecting. I mean, it wasn't necessarily something I was like super excited about or hoping for, but it wound up being pretty generic. And again, it's not a bad lesson, but it just feels kind of weird to have this type of episode that feels more at home and within the first 15 episodes, because we're in the end game now. We're like less than 10 episodes away from the end. I'm kind of two minds on this in the sense that we have probably about like 7 to 10 episodes. I'm not sure how long it's gonna go. So on one hand, it's like we should be like ramping things up. We shouldn't be doing this very generic filler episode. But on the other hand, there's not like a ton to resolve. Like in some other Toku series, there'll be like a lot to get through and you're like, okay, we have a lot we really have to cover in these 10 episodes. But then there's others where they kind of have to spin their wheels. So maybe that's why this exists, because all we really have to resolve is the final conflict against the boss, the involvement of the ISA, and then if they do anything with the Grand Prix at all. So maybe that's why this exists, is they're just kind of spinning their wheels. The main plot's just about this kid that like wants to learn how to be a hero. He initially wants to learn from Blue, which is really funny because like they're all talking to this kid that wants to learn from Blue and they're like, you must be Black Ranger, you must be Pink. I'm like, which one's Blue? And he just kind of turns away. It's just kind of funny. But they wind up they wind up ending up on him following around Joe primarily, but Mira's with him, and Joe doing his generic, doing the most performance. Like, Joe's performance is so weird in the sense that he's not like extremely over the top, but it's like annoying enough that it just feels disingenuous. Like whenever he says cheesy stuff, it just feels like a cartoon. Like, I don't know. I am trying to think of examples of Toku characters that will say like cheesy over the top heroic stuff and it doesn't come off as so fake. And the only one I ever think of is like Sento from Build, but I don't know, there's just something about it. It's just so specifically annoying and like disingenuous to me that it just gets on my nerves. But he follows him around just watching him do good deeds, and he's like, why aren't you always like fighting? Like, why? He's kind of bored by like the just generic good deeds. Probably the best part of it is when Joe thinks he's stopping a crime and it's a film set thing, which was kind of funny. But it loops around to this kid being like, you can't make mistakes because I made a mistake once by like going off to get ice cream and my brother like fell off a ladder or something because he was an idiot. I'm like, sounds like that was your brother's fault. He really screwed that one up. No, but he does where his like don't make mistakes thing comes from, and that's when Joe shouts the lesson disingenuously not long after that. So yeah, again, it's not a bad message. It just feels weird that we've had such great momentum, and now that we're in the last 10 episodes, we're doing this very like early quarter filler feeling episode. Like the only other things going on in regards to like the finale, like at least they had a couple scenes in there, which was nice to like have that seated in the background, was Ataya and Violet talking about like, oh, do you think he was lying about owning the Grand Prix? And Boondi's like, I don't think so, this must have happened after I left. And then they show the ISA helping the big boss getting the evil version of, not like an evil version, just another shoe like this one, but the evil BoonBoomger mecha ready, which I'm forgetting the name for some reason right now. I don't know why I'm forgetting the name of it, but it's called the evil BoonBoomger mecha at this moment. The only other funny scene that I wanted to note was there was a scene where it looked like Spinder was praising Team Rocket, and then it turns out it was just them saying, wouldn't it be great if that happened? And obviously, me calling them Team Rocket for 90% of these videos, and a lot of people equating them to that, shows that they remind us of Team Rocket. But this scene in particular just really reminded me of all the scenes you see in the Pokemon series where Team Rocket's talking to Giovanni on screen, or imagining Giovanni praising them. Like, you could practically see the Persian sitting next to Spinder. But yeah, I don't know. It was an okay filler episode. Just feels kind of weird to be wasting time on stuff like this when we're like less than 10 episodes away from the end. That's about it for this one. Until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps to ring that bell to get notifications for my videos. Awesome Rider, signing out.